Good morning, everyone, or good day. So I am Dr. Paula Sigma Javier, and I will be lecturing on the parotid, temporal, and infratemporal regions. So for this lecture, you are expected to know the following structures. First, we have the temporal fossa, the infratemporal fossa, the maxillary artery, the pterygoid venous plexus, the temporomandibular joint, the muscles of mastication, and finally the parotid region. So the importance of these structures are the following. So first, it is the attachment sites for the muscles of mastication. So we have your masseter, your medial and lateral pterygoid, and your temporalis muscle. We will discuss these muscles in more detail later on. It is also a distribution center for major neurovascular structures. So the main contents of these structures are the following. We have your major muscles of mastication, as I mentioned earlier. We also have the superficial temporal artery, the maxillary artery, the pterygoid venous plexus, the maxillary nerve, the mandibular nerve, the chorda tympani from your facial nerve, the otic ganglion, and finally your pterygopalatine ganglion. Okay, so we will begin superiorly in the temporal fossa. This is a roughly oval area on the lateral side of the head in this area. So this is your temporal area. So the major contents are your temporalis muscle and the superficial temporal artery. As I mentioned earlier, the temporalis muscle is one of your muscles of mastication. For the boundaries, it is bounded anteriorly by the frontal process of the zygomatic bone. So here. And then superiorly, we have the temporal lines on the frontal and the parietal bone. Frontal and parietal bone, we have here your superior temporal line. And then posteriorly, the root of your zygomatic arch. And then inferiorly, the infratemporal crest. So this is more medial to your mandibular arch. And then laterally, we have your zygomatic arch or your cheekbone. Okay, just to further illustrate the different boundaries, we have here superiorly the superior temporal line drawn from the frontal bone to the parietal bone. And then we have here anteriorly the frontal process of the zygomatic bone. We have inferiorly or lateral to the temporal fossa, we have your zygomatic arch, and then medial and inferior, we have your infratemporal crest. Posteriorly, we have your supramastoid crest and the root of your zygomatic bone. Okay, just another view with the zygomatic bone cut. So here we have your temporal fossa. This is the frontal process of your zygomatic bone. This is the root of your zygomatic arch. Here we have your tendon of the temporalis attached to the coronoid process of your mandible. So this is your temporalis muscle, and then covering it, later on, we will be able to see that it is covered by your temporal fascia. So here in this cadaver, this is a fresh frozen cadaver. We have here your temporal fossa, This here is your superior temporal line. So this is the frontal bone, this is the parietal bone. This here we have an imaginary superior temporal line. Okay, so this is part of your temporalis fascia. So here, this is a clearer view of your temporal fossa. We have here your temporalis fascia. And then once we retract that, we will be able to see the temporalis muscle lying in your temporal fossa. Okay. So preauricularly, so this is your ear, and then preauricular, you will be able to find your superficial temporal artery and vein. Okay. So the auriculotemporal nerve also travels with your superficial temporal artery. So you can also find it here, but in this cadaver, we can't see it anymore. Okay, again, this is your temporal fossa. Okay, so just to maybe refresh you on the branches of your external carotid artery, the first branch is your superior thyroid. So this is from inferior to superior. First branch is your superior thyroid artery, which supplies your thyroid gland. So after that, we have your ascending pharyngeal, and then your lingual, but the lingual can't be seen here. It's supposed to be here. Lingual, and then your facial artery, your occipital artery, your posterior auricular. Here we have your maxillary artery, which we will also discuss later on. And then we have the superficial temporal artery here. See, it travels preauricularly in front of your external auditory canal. So we'll discuss the superficial temporal artery and the maxillary artery. So the maxillary artery travels in your infratemporal fossa and your pterygopalatine fossa, and provides the blood supply for different structures. The most important of, or one of the most important structures, well, all of the structures that it supplies are important, but one that is relevant to maybe my practice or our practice for ENTs is it provides the blood supply to the nose. Okay, but you will discuss that later on. Okay, so again, just to reiterate, so here we have in this photo or illustration, we have here your temporalis muscle. So this is covered by your temporalis fascia. And here we will be able to appreciate the superficial temporal artery, which travels with your auriculotemporal nerve. Okay, so this is a bit superficial. So here, with the zygomatic bone cut, we are able to appreciate the maxillary artery here and the different structures like the lingual nerve, the lateral pterygoids, the sphenomandibular ligament here. So these are just some of the structures that we will discuss also later on. They are part of the infratemporal fossa as well as the pterygopalatine fossa discussion. So now let's proceed to the infratemporal fossa. This is an irregularly shaped area bounded anteriorly by the posterior surface of your maxilla. So the maxilla is here. So the posterior surface, and then posteriorly we have your mandibular fossa, the styloid process, the spine of the sphenoid. So here. Superiorly, we have your infratemporal crest. So this is behind the zygomatic bone. And then inferiorly, the alveolar border of your maxilla. So, or the alveolus here. So the alveolus, that is where your teeth are attached. Okay. Medially or inside, we have your lateral pterygoid plate. I can't show you that anymore. Laterally, the zygomatic arch and the ramus of your mandible. Okay. So, again, this is your infratemporal fossa here with a zygomatic arch cut. So, anteriorly bounded by your infratemporal surface of the maxilla or the posterior surface of your maxilla. So, this green structure is your maxilla. Okay. And then posteriorly, we have your styloid process. Okay. Superiorly, we have your infratemporal crest. Medially, the lateral plate of the pterygoid process. And then inferiorly, the alveolar process of your maxilla. So here. Again, we have here the maxilla, the lateral pterygoid plate, or the medial boundary of your or border of your infratemporal fossa. And then the zygomatic arch, which is cut. Superiorly, we have the greater wing of the sphenoid, but we won't go into that. That's beyond the scope of this lecture. Okay, so just to show you the different foramina that are relevant to our lecture. So I hope you remember the anatomy of your skull. We have here more medial, the foramen ovale, V3, or the mandibular division of your trigeminal nerve passes through here. Also, the accessory meningeal artery, and sometimes perhaps the lesser petrosal nerve. Okay, and then more medially, we have your foramen spinosum. So foramen or foramina are like openings in your skull. So here, the middle meningeal artery and the nervus spinosus passes through. Finally, the mandibular foramen, which we can't see here anymore because we don't have the mandible here, holds your inferior alveolar nerve and artery and vein. Sorry. So the maxillary artery and branches of your, the second division of your, or the maxillary division of your trigeminal nerve pass through the pterygomaxillary fissure. Okay, pterygomaxillary fissure here, which leads to the pterygopalatine fossa. Okay, again, just to show you again, the infratemporal fossa here, but with the zygomatic bone still attached. So also we have here the different structures that the neurovascular structures pass through. So we have your foramen ovale, which is more lateral, the foramen spinosum, and the pterygopalatine fossa, or pterygopalatine foramen. Okay, so the infratemporal fossa contains your medial and lateral pterygoids. So we don't have the lateral pterygoids here anymore, but we showed it earlier. So this is already your medial pterygoid. And then branches of the V3, or the third division of your trigeminal nerve from the foramen ovale and the maxillary artery and the pterygoid venous plexus. So we can see the pterygoid venous plexus here, but we'll see it later on. Okay, again, just to show you the different structures that pass through your infratemporal fossa, we have here your lingual nerve, the inferior alveolar nerve. So these are all from the V3, or third division of your trigeminal nerve. Okay, so here we have your middle meningeal artery, the sphenomandibular ligament here, the temporomandibular joint here. Okay, so this is your medial pterygoid. Okay, so the pterygopalatine fossa is a small, roughly pyramidal shaped space located in the deep lateral aspect of the head. Okay, so the deep lateral aspect. So it contains your maxillary artery, the maxillary nerve, or the maxillary nerve, or the second division of your trigeminal nerve, the nerve of the pterygoid canal, and the pterygopalatine ganglion. So anteriorly, again, similar to your infratemporal fossa, it is bounded by your posterior surface of the maxilla. Posteriorly, bounded by the base of the pterygoid process of the sphenoid bone. Superiorly, we have the apex of the orbit. So you will notice that it is deeper, a bit deeper than your infratemporal. Inferiorly, we have the inferior margin of the pterygomaxillary fissure. Medially, we have the posterolateral wall of the nasal cavity, or the perpendicular plate of the palatine bone. And laterally, we have the pterygomaxillary fissure. So laterally here, we have your pterygomaxillary fissure. Superiorly, the greater wing of the sphenoid. Posteriorly, the pterygoid process. Medially, the perpendicular plate of the palatine bone. Inferiorly, the pyramidal process of the palatine bone. And anteriorly, we have the posterior surface of the maxilla. Okay, so one of the boundaries are your is your apex of the orbit as well. So here is your pterygopalatine fossa showing your maxillary nerve, the pterygopalatine ganglion, and the palatine greater lesser palatine nerves. So also here, we will be able to appreciate the maxillary artery. Okay, so next, the maxillary artery, which is numerous branches. So the maxillary artery originates from the posterior to the neck of the mandible here. This is the mandible. Posterior to the neck of the mandible and is embedded in the parotid. So this actually lends the blood supply to the parotid, which causes the parotid to be very bloody. When you do surgery on the parotid gland, even with just superficial parotidectomy, you will notice that it is very bloody. One moment. Okay, sorry about that. So the first part of the maxillary artery is posterior and medial to the neck of the mandible. So here we have the mandible, and you will see here the different branches of the first part of the maxillary artery. So this whole red area, these are all branches of the first part of the maxillary artery. The second part here is superficial to or within the lateral pterygoid. So here we can see the lateral pterygoid, and superficial to it, we can appreciate the second part of your maxillary artery. For the third part, it is found in the pterygopalatine fossa. So here we have your third part. Okay, so this is the one that gives the blood supply to your nose. Okay, so for the first part, we have the deep auricular, which passes through the external auditory canal and gives the blood supply to your outer ear and tympanic membrane. So mostly to your outer ear. Okay, the anterior tympanic artery passes through the petrotympanic fissure, which gives the blood supply to the middle ear. So again, the deep auricular to the outer ear, the anterior tympanic to the middle ear. Okay, the middle meningeal passes through the foramen spinosum to the middle cranial fossa and the calvarium. So it goes inside your skull. The accessory meningeal passes through the foramen ovale to the midcranial fossa and the calvarium as well. Lastly, we have the inferior alveolar, which passes through the mandibular foramen. Okay, it passes through here and gives the blood supply to your lower teeth um, and turns into the mental artery to the chin. Okay. So for the second part, we have the deep temporal artery. So this travels deep actually to the temporalis. So we have the deep temporal artery, which supplies the temporalis muscle, the pterygoid artery, which provides a blood supply to your medial and lateral pterygoids. If you remember, I mentioned earlier that the second part may actually pass through the pterygoid muscles. It isn't necessarily superficial to it. So, provides the medial and lateral pterygoids. Also, this part provides the blood supply to the masseter. And finally, the buccal artery provides the blood supply to the cheek with the buccal branch of the facial nerve. With the buccal branch of V3 or the third trigeminal, the third division of your trigeminal nerve. Okay, so if you will notice, the second part of your maxillary artery actually provides the blood supply to the muscles of mastication. Okay. For the third part of your maxillary artery, we have here your posterior superior alveolar, which provides the blood supply, which passes through the posterior superior alveolar foramen to the posterior maxillary teeth. So your upper teeth, posterior to that is your posterior superior alveolar artery. For the descending palatine provides a blood supply to the passes through the greater and lesser palatine foramen and provides a blood supply to the palate. The descending palatine actually also provides some of the blood supply to the tonsils. Okay, so when we do tonsillectomy, this is actually one of the the one providing the supply or its branch that supplies the tonsils is one of the arteries that we ligate or cauterize. Okay, so for the third part, we have the artery of the pterygoid canal, which passes through, as the name implies, the pterygoid canal and provides a blood supply to the pharynx and the auditory tube. Okay, the sphenopalatine artery passes through the sphenopalatine foramen and provides a blood supply to your nasal cavity. This is very important when we do our FES or endoscopic sinus surgery, because this is this artery is very bloody, that when you accidentally rupture it, the field is completely covered with blood. So we have to be very careful to determine where the sphenopalatine artery is when we do this kind of surgery. Finally, we have your infraorbital artery, which passes through the infraorbital foramen and supplies the face. It also becomes the anterior superior, it also passes through the anterior superior alveolar foramen to provide blood supply to the anterior maxillary teeth. So, the posterior superior alveolar provides the blood supply posterior to the posterior maxillary teeth. These are your maxillary teeth. While the infraorbital artery, which passes through the infraorbital foramen here, supplies the face, as well as the anterior superior alveolar foramen here. So anteriorly. Okay? I won't show you my alveolus anymore. Okay, so for the pterygoid venous plexus, the branches of the maxillary artery actually have accompanying veins, which we call the venae comitatantes. This pterygoid venous plexus located in your pterygoid fossa actually drain to the drain to the plexus superficial to the lateral pterygoid muscle. So this here is superficial to your lateral pterygoid muscle. Okay, and it also anastomosis with your cavernous sinus and your meninges here, as well as your facial vein here, or here, sorry, here. Okay, so it anastomosis with your facial vein. Okay, so let's go to the temporomandibular joint. It's this joint right here. So the temporomandibular joint has a, or sorry, the condyle here of your mandible has a capsule that surrounds the joint and is tightly attached to the mandible and loosely to your temporal bone. Okay, so this here, this ligament is your temporomandibular ligament. Okay, this is a thickening on the lateral capsule and prevents the movement of your joint posteriorly and inferiorly. Okay, so we also have, other than this, we have two other ligaments that support your temporomandibular joint. We have your sphenomandibular ligament, which attaches from the spine of the sphenoid to the lingula, here, lingula, of your mandible. So the function is unclear, while the stylomandibular ligament originates from the styloid process here, styloid process, to the posterior border of your mandible. Function is also unclear. But if I would maybe venture a guess, I would say that these ligaments also provide support to the temporomandibular joint and prevents further movement. And it keeps them, or keeps it in place. Okay, so here we have your temporomandibular ligament with its capsule, or I'm sorry, your temporomandibular joint with a capsule and the temporomandibular ligament here, or here, it's supposed to be here. Here we have your stylomandibular ligament from the styloid process to your mandible, and the sphenomandibular from the sphenoid to the lingula of your mandible. So next, let's go to the muscles of mastication. So first, we have the masseter. So here, from your zygomatic arch, here, to the ramus of the mandible on the lateral side. It actually also covers the angle of the mandible. The angle of the mandible here. Okay, it acts to elevate the mandible. Okay, temporalis muscle, we discussed this earlier, originates from your temporal bone, inserts in the coronoid. Coronoid is the one anterior, okay? So the one posterior is your condyle. Here, this is your coronoid of the mandible, okay? So it inserts into the coronoid. You saw this earlier when I showed you the temporalis muscle and the ligament of the temporalis. So it inserts in the coronoid process of the mandible. It acts to elevate and retrude the mandible. The medial and lateral pterygoid. So the medial pterygoid is deeper, of course, because it's medial. It originates from the medial side of the lateral pterygoid plate and inserts into the medial side of the ramus here, medial side. So it's inside. Okay. It acts to elevate. The lateral pterygoid originates from the lateral side of the pterygoid plate, and inserts into the neck of the mandible. So this is the lateral side of pterygoid plate, the greater wing of the sphenoid, inserts into the neck of the mandible, and the articular disc of your temporomandibular joint. It acts to depress, protrude the mandible. So depress and protrude, that action. Okay. So next, let's proceed to the parotid. Okay. Parotid. This is the region on the lateral side, the parotid region. This is the region on the lateral side of the face that comprises the parotid gland and the structures directly related to it. So what are the structures directly related to it? We have your Stenson's duct here, or the parotid duct, the facial nerves, okay, the masseter inferior, or sorry, deep to your parotid gland. Okay, so before we, when we do parotid surgery, before we reach the parotid, we actually first encounter this structure, the SMAS, or the superficial musculoaponeurotic system. Okay. So this is the SMAS and the deep temporal fascia. So I just wanted to show the different structures that are related to your parotid gland. This is the temporal branch of your facial nerve. So this is the most superior branch of the facial nerve here. And here we have the parotid gland, which isn't very clear. Sorry, this is not my photo. Okay, so on lateral view, we can see here the parotid gland, which is preauricular or in front of your external auditory canal. Okay, here we have the facial nerve emerging from your stylomastoid foramen. Okay, so when we do parotid surgery, we actually dissect here first, or we release all of the structures, and we trace the facial nerve from its origin, okay, to make sure that we don't transect it. Okay, so another landmark that we have to see is actually the posterior belly of your digastric. It's here. Here. Yeah. So that's another structure that we look for when we look for the main trunk of your facial nerve. Okay, so here we have the parotid gland and the terminal branches of your facial nerve. So we have the temporal, the zygomatic, the buccal branch provides the, which supplies the buccal buccinator. And then here we have the marginal mandibular and the cervical branch. I'm sure you have a mnemonic for this. I really don't remember it anymore. So maybe you can just look it up. There's a mnemonic to remember the terminal branches. Okay, so again, terminal branches are your temporal, zygomatic, buccal, marginal mandibular, and cervical branch. Okay. Again, just to reiterate, we have here temporal, zygomatic, buccal, marginal mandibular, and cervical. So usually, the temporal and zygomatic forms or originates from one branch of your facial nerve. So it divides into two from the main trunk. So we have your temporal zygomatic and the cervicomandibular branch here, which is where the buccal branch originates from as well. Okay. So the parotid is found between the mastoid process and the ramus of the mandible. The parotid gland, the capsule, originates from the investing layer attached to the zygomatic arch and the temporal bone. The surrounding structures are the parotid lymph nodes, the great auricular nerve, the external auditory meatus, and the temporomandibular joint, which is more deep or is deeper to your parotid gland. This is the largest of the salivary glands, and is located subcutaneously below and in front of the external auditory meatus. It occupies a deep hollow behind the ramus of the mandible, wedge-shaped when viewed externally, with the base above, and the apex behind the angle of the mandible. So here, we can appreciate that the base is above and the apex is behind the angle of the mandible. Okay, so it's a bit triangular in shape, or wedge shaped, sorry. So in horizontal section, with the base in the lateral position and the apex against the pharyngeal wall. So this is like a horizontal view, horizontal section of your parotid and the surrounding structures. So here we have the wall of the pharynx, and here we have the ramus of the mandible and the mastoid process. So this is anterior, this is posterior. Okay, so again, we have here your parotid, which is wedge-shaped in horizontal section. So this is this is deep and this is superficial. Okay, anteriorly we have the ramus of the mandible. Posteriorly we have the mastoid process. This is your facial nerve passing through the parotid gland. So it exhibits three surfaces: lateral, anteromedial, and posteromedial. So again, lateral, anteromedial, and posteromedial. So it is actually just one lobe, the parotid gland. But because of the presence of the facial nerve that cuts through the substance of the parotid gland, it has a superficial, or it is considered to have two lobes. So we have the superficial lobe, which is more, more superficial to your facial nerve, and your deep lobe, which is deeper to your facial nerve. So the lobes are just in relation to the facial nerve. Okay, it also have different processes. So these are irregular lobulated masses that goes towards different or various directions. So this is your parotid gland. So the accessory process passes superficial to your Stenson's duct, or the parotid duct. And then we have the glenoid process that extends behind the temporomandibular joint and in front of your external auditory canal. Okay, and then we have your facial process, which extends superficial to your masseter muscle. This is your masseter muscle. This is your facial process. The pterygoid process extends forward from the deeper part and lies between the medial pterygoid and the ramus of the mandible. So it is quite deep. Okay, the carotid process lies posterior to the external carotid canal. Okay. So the capsule of the parotid gland has an inner connective tissue and an outer dense fibrous capsule. They are both derived from the deep cervical fascia. So the deep cervical fascia actually extends upward and divides into your superficial and deep layer. So this is your superficial layer, which attaches it to the zygomatic arch, and the deep layer, which attaches to the tympanic plate. Okay, so for the relation, superficially or lateral to your parotid gland, we have the skin, of course, and the superficial fascia. We also have the great auricular nerve here, the GAN. It actually passes through your sternocleidomastoid muscle and provides sensory innervation to your ear. Also, we have the parotid lymph nodes. The parotid lymph nodes can actually also be found deep or within the substance of your parotid gland. Superiorly, we have the external auditory meatus, the temporomandibular joint, the glenoid process related to the auriculotemporal nerve. Okay, so as you remember earlier, the auriculotemporal nerve is also travels parallel to the superficial temporal artery. Okay, so anteromedially, these are the structures related to your parotid gland. We have the stylomandibular ligament, the medial pterygoid, the posterior border of the ramus of the mandible, the masseter, the terminal branches, of course, of the facial nerve, and the temporomandibular joint. Okay. Posteromedially, we have the carotid sheath and its contents, the styloid process here with the attached muscles. Okay. The facial nerve, or the main trunk of your facial nerve, the posterior belly of the digastric muscle, the mastoid process here, mastoid process, and the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Within the parotid gland, we have these structures. We have the auriculotemporal nerve, the external carotid artery, the retromandibular vein, and the facial nerve. Okay? So the Stenson's duct, or the parotid duct, is about 2 inches long. It emerges from the facial process of the gland. It passes over the lateral surface of your masseter muscle and turns around its anterior border to pierce the buccal pad of fat, the buccopharyngeal fascia, the buccinator muscle, and finally your buccal mucosa. Okay, so the buccal fat pad here, that's actually the fat that gives you that, you know, Jollibee kind of smile with the big cheeks. Okay, the buccopharyngeal fascia, buccinator muscle, if you remember from the face, the lecture on the face, it's the blower's muscle, and the buccal mucosa inside. So it opens into the vestibule, opposite the second upper molar tooth. Second upper molar. So you have 2 premolar, you have your canines, your premolars and your molars. So second premolar, second molar, upper molar tooth. So maxillary molar. Okay, so for the arterial supply, it is supplied by the external carotid artery and its terminal branches. So we have here superficial temporal artery, the maxillary artery, the external carotid artery. Venous drainage is via the retromandibular vein here. Retromandibular vein. Lymph drainage via the parotid nodes and the deep cervical nodes. Parotid nodes within the substance of the parotid and the deep cervical nodes behind the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Nerve supply, since this nerve passes within the substance of your parotid gland, the auriculotemporal nerve, and the autonomic nerve supply is via the sympathetic, the plexus around the arteries, parasympathetic through the otic ganglion. Okay, so I think that concludes my lecture. I hope you learned a lot. I won't be asking difficult questions. Most of my questions are found in my PowerPoint. So thank you for your kind attention and have a nice day.